Making headlines this hour, Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Mohammad Asim meets with his Chinese counterpart Mr. Wang Yi. Chinese ambassador to Maldives Wang Fukan says that 3 Chinese corporations are developing resorts to forge the upgraded version of China-Maldives Cooperation of Tourism. And US Vice President Joe Biden slams US President-elect Donald Trump, saying it was time for him to grow up.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to News in English on TVM with me, Hafiza Sattar. And now the news in detail. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Mohammad Asim, who is currently on an official visit to China, meets with his counterpart, Mr. Wang Yi.
During the meeting, the two ministers had extensive discussions on further strengthening the cordial bilateral relations that exist between the two countries. Mr. Asim expressed appreciation to the government of China for its continued contribution to the socio-economic development of the Maldives. Mr. Wang Yi termed the China-Maldives friendship as a future-oriented cooperative partnership and assured China's support and cooperation for the development activities of the Maldives. Since China remains the #1 tourist market of the Maldives, the two ministers also discussed the importance of cooperation in the area of tourism. The two ministers further discussed on cooperation between the two foreign ministries and exchanged views on important international and regional issues. As this year marks the 45th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Maldives and China, discussions also focus on celebrating the occasion on a special manner. The meeting was followed by an official dinner hosted by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in honor of Minister Asim. The Ambassador of Maldives to the People's Republic of China, Mr. Muhammad Faisal, Ambassador Ahmad Khalil, Secretary Bilateral Mr. Hussein Sharif, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs and senior officials of the embassy accompanied Minister Asim to the meeting and the official dinner. In his visit to China, Dr. Mohammad Asim also gave a public lecture on Maldives-China friendship and the foreign policy of President Abdul Yamin Abdul Qayyum at the Beijing Foreign Studies University. Mr. Asim recapped briefly the history of Maldives-China friendship, highlighting the fact that 2017 marks the 45th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations between the two countries. The minister illuminated how the bilateral relations between the two countries has reached an all-time high in the present day. The minister's lecture presented how the vital Chinese assistance has been in fulfilling the goals in the economic agenda of President Jammeh. The minister further expressed how the president's transformative economic agenda will provide Chinese investors a rewarding investment destination in the Maldives. The lecture was followed by Q&A sessions. During his official visit to China, the Maldives Foreign Minister paid a courtesy call on President of the Export-Import Exim Bank, Mr. Liu Liang. During the meeting, Minister Asim noted the importance of the Velana International Airport upgrading project currently ongoing in the Maldives with the loan assistance of Exim Bank. President Liu Liang expressed interest of the Exim Bank to collaborate with the Maldives in further development projects as well. In further meetings, Dr. Asim also met with President of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, Mr. Jin Lee Quinn. During the meeting, Minister Asim stated that the Maldives was one of the founding members of AIIB. The minister briefed the President of AIIB on the pipeline projects for which the government of Maldives has formally requested the assistance of AIIB. President of AIIB assured the support of AIIB to facilitate the development projects of Maldives and expressed hope that some of the projects can begin as early as this year.
Chinese ambassador to Maldives, Wang Fukan, says that 3 Chinese corporations are developing resorts to forge the upgraded version of a China-Maldives Cooperation of Tourism. The ambassador made the remarks while speaking at a press briefing held to inform the media of the work being done to further enhance China-Maldives relations.
Speaking at the 2017 media briefing and reception held on Wednesday, Ambassador of China to the Maldives, Wang Fukan, said Maldives continue to be one of the top preferred destinations among Chinese tourists. He said that their purpose is to maintain and possibly increase this interest by further promoting Maldives as destination through concerted efforts of Maldives and Chinese authorities. He said China has been the largest source of tourists for Maldives for the past 7 years. He said that 3 Chinese corporations are currently working to develop resorts in Maldives, which in turn would boost arrivals from China to Maldives. Ambassador Fu Kang said that the embassy is also working with Maldivian authorities on promotional activities which could further increase tourist arrivals to Maldives from China. He said under this effort, they are in discussion with relevant authorities to introduce direct flights on Chinese airlines from Chinese capital Beijing to Maldives. Currently, there are 2 direct flights from Beijing to Maldives, which are Mega Maldives and Capital Airlines. China is not only a major infrastructure development partner to Maldives, but also the largest contributor to local tourist arrivals as per statistics released by Tourism Ministry past couple of years. Statistics released by Maldives Tourism Ministry shows that Chinese tourists contribute to 27.2% of total tourist arrival to Maldives from January till October of 2016. During this period, 289,632 tourists visited Maldives from China. The Chinese ambassador further said this 2016 was a successful year for China-Maldives multilateral relations with initiation and completion of projects. He expressed confidence of 2017 bringing in new projects between China and Maldives and further emboldening the socio-economic relation between the countries.
Housing Development Corporation HDC signs an agreement with Aknumash, a Turkish engineering consulting group company, for the design and management of projects in Hulumale Phase 2.
The mega project of construction of bridges, channels, harbours and shoreline protection works in Hulumale Phase 2 is divided into several stages, in which the design stage is the first. This will be carried out with extensive feasibility studies and design development. Housing Development Corporation HDC signed an agreement with a Turkish company for the design and project management of the construction of bridges, channels, harbours and shore protection works in Hulumale Phase 2. The agreement was signed by Managing Director of HDC Mohammed Simon and Chairman of Tumas Fahmi Zafar at a ceremony held yesterday at HDC headquarters. Under the agreement, Tumas will undertake the first stage designing and project management of components, which include channels, bridges between Phase 1 and Phase 2, harbour, sheet piling and beach formation. The project will be funded under the Saudi Fund for Development SFT loan and is expected to be completed within 240 days. 240 hectares of land was reclaimed as part of the second phase of Hulumale development project. HDC said that the aim is to rapidly populate the second phase and therefore develop housing units in the newly reclaimed area. The corporation has already signed agreements with several construction firms to build over 10,000 housing units. The Housing Development Corporation further noted that multiple projects are being carried out in the second phase of Hulumale. The corporation revealed that work to establish electricity and sewerage systems are being carried out, while work to construct a network of roads in the second phase has also been initiated. HDC plans to populate a community of 100,000 people in the second phase of Hulumale.
Island Expert Private Limited says that the concrete work of the SIFCO flats will be concluded by the end of this year. The construction firm said that the project commenced last year and that so far the foundation work has been completed. The company is now working to lay the floor sheets of the flats. The project to construct the 330 flats is supervised by the Ministry of Defence and National Security and aims to accommodate Maldives National Defence Force MNDF servicemen in the flats next year. In business, we have China's smart home appliances shine at Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas.
China's smart home appliances for a better home shine at the ongoing Consumer Electronics Show CES, which kicked off in Las Vegas. The most attractive is the booth of the Haier Group, a Chinese multinational consumer electronics and home appliances company headquartered in Guangdong, East China's Shandong province. Displayed in the booth are model smart kitchen, smart sitting room and smart bathroom, which with the seamless interconnection between home appliances and external resources have transplanted the concept of Internet Things into the family life. Also highlighted in the exhibition is a product over the watching platform. It is like an ordinary mirror, but it is actually a touchscreen computer which can show the temperature, air quality and humidity of the room. The Haier Group has brought its subversively innovative home appliances such as circular outlet air conditioner with a fancy wind funnel. The circular design of the air outlet can quickly mix the cold with the hot air. The 3.9mm super thin curved screen Quantum TV produced by TCL Group is another top consumer electronics and home appliances company in China, can make viewers experience the Dolby visual effect like in a cinema. According to TCL President Li Dongshen, TCL collects 47% of its sales revenue overseas. TCL provides products to different areas according to different demands. CES has for half a century acted as the launch pad for new innovations and technologies that can change the world. Held in Las Vegas every year, the show is the world's gathering place for all who thrive on the business of consumer technologies and where the next generation innovations are introduced to the marketplace. This year's event will run until Sunday.
Syria's Minister of National Reconciliation Affairs, Ali Haider, says that the Syrian government is ready for an open battle with insurgents in the northwestern province of Idlib, where thousands of rebels have been sent under ceasefire deals that are helping President Bashar al-Assad recover areas lost in the civil war. The Syrian minister, who has been responsible for negotiating local deals, said he expected more accords in coming months to send thousands of fighters to Idlib from areas near Damascus and south of it as the army advances. But in an interview in Damascus, he said the state could not allow Idlib to remain an insurgent stronghold unless there was an international deal that addressed the situation. The government has given rebels safe passage to Idlib under numerous local deals that amount to rebels surrendering areas they held, typically after years of siege and military pressure. The government says Syrians who wish to stay can do so as life returns to normal after a ceasefire. The opposition says the deals amount to forced demographic changes to drive out Assad's opponents. The government denies this accusation. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden slams U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and said it was time for him to grow up during an interview with PBS NewsHour conducted at the White House.
Show host Judy Woodruff was asking Biden about Trump's use of Twitter in recent days, in which he called Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer the head clown for his work in defending the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare.
Grow up. Time to be an adult. You're president. You got to do something. Show us what you have. You're going to propose it in legislation. We're going to get to debate it. Let the public decide. Let them vote in Congress. Let's see what happens. It's going to be much clearer what he's for and against and what we're for and against now that it's going to get down to actually discussing in detail these issues that affect people's lives.
In addition to discussing Obamacare, Woodruff and Biden talked about recent U.S. intelligence agency reports about how Russia may have meddled in the U.S. 2016 presidential election.
There is overwhelming consensus in the community and overwhelming evidence supplied by the community that Russia did engage in an effort to impact on the elections. There is no evidence that they actually tampered with voting booths or tampered with voting rolls, but there is clear evidence that they, in fact, were engaged in activities designed to try to impact on the outcome of the election.
Trump disparaged the spy agency's conclusions that Russia was behind hacks of the Democratic National Committee and the campaign staff on his 2016 election opponent Hillary Clinton. Trump is scheduled to brief of an intelligence report today that reaches that conclusion. Russia has denied the hacking allegations. Relations between Trump and U.S. intelligence agencies are extraordinarily rocky even before he is sworn in on January 20th.
The United States say that North Korea had demonstrated a qualitative improvement in its nuclear and missile capabilities after an unprecedented level of test last year, showing the need to sustain pressure on Pyongyang to bring it back to disarmament negotiations. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told a joint news conference after a meeting with his Japanese and South Korean counterparts that North Korea had conducted 24 missile tests in the past year, as well as 2 nuclear tests, and learned from each other. Russian ambassador to the Philippines, Igor Kholev, says Russia is ready to supply Philippines with new weapons.
Russian ambassador to the Philippines, Igor Kholev, said that Russia is ready to supply the Philippines with sophisticated brand new weapons. Kholev made the remarks as the Russian Navy is making 6-day goodwill visit to the country.
We are ready to supply small arms and light weapons, so airplanes, helicopters, submarines, and many other weapons, sophisticated weapons, modern weapons. Not their second-hand ones.
Kholev said at a press conference on board the Russian anti-submarine destroyer Admiral Tributes, which is docked in Manila until today. Kholev voiced optimism about the relationship between the Philippines and Russia, hoping that the two countries will eventually forge military and defense cooperation in the future.
Such port calls should be arranged on a regular basis. And I'm confident that it will be in full compliance with the long-term interests of our two countries. Russia is ready to become a new reliable partner and close friend of the Philippines. We will not tolerate any attempt of any third country to interfere into the relations of our two sovereign states, the Philippines and Russia.
Besides the anti-submarine ship, the Russian large tanker Boris Butoma is also docked in Manila. Kholev said Russia is looking forward to the official visit of Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte to Russia this spring, adding that the specific date is still being finalized.
President Rodrigo Duterte says that he hoped Moscow arrival of the Philippines, a traditional ally, the United States, would become his country's ally and protector as he toured one of the 2 Russian warships on a 4-day visit to Manila. Duterte's remarks came a day after Russia's ambassador said his country was ready to supply the Philippines with sophisticated weapons and aims to become its close friend. Duterte has thrown the future of Philippine-U.S. relations into question with angry outbursts against the United States, a former colonial power, and some scaling back of military ties while taking steps to improve relationships with China and Russia. He is due to go to Moscow in April. The visit by the Russian warships was the first official Navy-to-Navy contact between the two countries. Thousands of civilians flee areas of Mosul amid an Iraqi army operation to retake the city from IS militants.
Thousands of residents fled from eastern Mosul neighborhoods as the Iraqi army carried on with the second phase of the offensive against IS militants. The men, women and children fleeing the neighborhoods of Samar, Wahda and Mitog boarded near Barthella town buses which would take them to the nearby camps. Brigadier Amir Jabouri, a member of the Iraqi forces, said the number of people leaving their homes for safety steadily increases. 8 workers distributed hot meals to the families who fled Mosul on foot overnight. The families walked many hours to escape the militants in the cover of darkness. More than 125,000 people have been displaced out of a population of roughly 1.5 million. The UN Refugee Agency said that the numbers have increased by nearly 50% to 2,300 daily from 1,600 over the past few days. UN said that the humanitarian situation in Mosul was dire, with food stockpiles dwindling and the price of staples spiraling, boreholes drying up or turning brackish from overuse, and camps and emergency sites to the south and east reaching maximum capacity. Most of the fleeing civilians are from the eastern district, but people from the besieged west, still under the militants' control, are increasingly attempting to escape, scaling bridges bombed by the coalition and crossing the Tigris by boat.
Top Iranian official Aladdin Boljardi says that Iran welcomes the proposal for peace talks in the Kazakh capital of Astana on the Syrian crisis. Chairman of the Iranian Parliament's Committee for Foreign Policy and National Security, Vuljardi, made the remarks at a press conference as he wrapped up a two-day visit to Damascus. Vuljardi congratulated the Syrian government for retaking Aleppo, considering it as a significant step in regaining stability in the country. In regards to the upcoming Astana peace talks, Vuljardi said the Iranian government welcomes the efforts, yet the prospects are still uncertain. The German pair of Andrea Petrovic and Alexander Zverev beat Great Britain's Heather Watson and Dan Evans 2-1 in the Hoffman Cup. Watson, who had got Britain off to a winning start when she beat Petrovic 6-2, 7-6 before Zverev revelled the tie by beating Evans 6-4, 6-3. German won the deciding doubles 4-2, 4-2 to end their participation in the tournament on a winning note. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is set for another winning weekend at the North American box office from Friday through Sunday. The latest film in the Star Wars franchise is estimated to earn $27 million over the 3 days, adding to its global haul of $807 million. Animated film Sing is expected to come in at a very close number 2 with $26 million. It's already earned more than $290 million worldwide. Debuting this weekend and expected to hit number 3 is Hidden Figures, the story of 3 African-American women working on the NASA mission to send John Glenn into space. Starring Octavia Spencer, Taraji P. Henson and Janelle Monáe, the film is predicted to take in $23 million. Also new in theaters will be Underworld, Blood Wars. The film stars Kate Beckinsale in the 5th installment of the vampire franchise. Veteran Indian actor Om Puri, who successfully straddled movie careers in Bollywood and the West, dies in Mumbai. His friend and actor Anupam Kher told Reuters that the 66-year-old Puri suffered cardiac arrest. Puri cut his teeth in the 1980s with alternative art cinema that found a niche audience in India, playing several memorable characters that depicted the ends of the times. He also worked in several Hollywood and British films, including The Reluctant Fundamentalist, East is East, and most recently in The 100-Foot Journey. Several Bollywood stars and fans took to Twitter to pay their respects. The alumnus of the Film and Television Institute of India and later the National School of Drama, the actor's work in Govind Nihalani's Ard Satya and later Akrosh won him several accolades. And that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant night ahead.